Do I need a license to sell homemade food in Minnesota? And what is Minnesota's cottage food laws? Welcome to YouTube's brand new channel, Cottage Foods Laws, all about the home-based food entrepreneur. We bring in you tons of great resources and information about launching a home-based food business under the cottage food laws for every state, including a handful of great resource videos on how to market, package, label, get your ingredients, and everything in between. So my name is Damian Roberti. I am a e-commerce food entrepreneur. I've been in the food industry for over 30 years. My wife and I own and operate several e-commerce food businesses. And we have several channels here on YouTube, actually. Marketing Food Online, which is our big food entrepreneur channel, has over 130,000 subscribers. You definitely want to check out those links down below for those channels. So let's dive right into this specific video. I'm going to give you some information on Minnesota's cottage food law and how to get a business launched from home selling food products. Now, we're going to dive into where you can sell, what you can do, the labels, also limitations and things you can't do, foods you can't make, and foods you can make. So right off the bat, let's get into where you can sell. So if you're producing a home-based food product from Minnesota, you have several places where you can actually sell from, and that's going to be local events such as like farmers markets, festivals, fairs, and those types of public events. That is allowed. Farmers markets as well, you want to make sure you double check with the farmers market you're going to go to in case they need any additional possible business licensing or permits or insurance. Under cottage food laws, traditionally in every state, they don't require you to have an LLC or even a business license in many cases. Some do. But in Minnesota, I would highly recommend you definitely check into an LLC. Creating a limited liability corporation gives you some coverage personally, because if you're not incorporated or have business insurance, you can be sued personally if somebody gets sick from the food you make from home. That's kind of one of the misconceptions a lot of people have about launching a food business from home. They say, well, hey, Damien, I've got my homeowner's insurance policy. Doesn't that cover it? No, not exactly. So you want to make sure that you get something like that to have some legal protection, legal coverage. So you personally are not going to be held liable. Your business will be, but that's separate and that's different. So definitely check out those links below. You can actually create an LLC online. I think it's about 10, 15 minutes. Very quick and easy, and you can do that from your laptop. Now, you can also sell products from your home. Now, this is something a lot of people actually do, but they have to be comfortable with having customers either come to the home or you bring them to them actually in person. You can also sell it online, but remember, you have to send it, ship it, or deliver it to the end user. So things like restaurants, for instance, or if a restaurant's buying the product, you can't do that. If a retail store buys it and you ship a product to a retail store in Minnesota, again, you can't do that as well. So if you do it online, you're actually allowed to have a little store shop on front, store for it, and then you can actually sell it from there. All right, so next up, the different services. So how can you actually deliver or bring the packages? So just as I mentioned before, selling it from home directly is something you can do. That includes a pickup from the customer to you, not someone else. And delivery has to be made directly to that consumer, the buyer itself. Now, some of the prohibited ways to sell, roadside stands. So you can't just necessarily pop up a table on the side of the road somewhere, put a blanket or tablecloth on there, and then start selling food on the side of the road. Roadside stands in Minnesota specifically are not allowed. Retail stores selling your product directly to a retailer, so they would resell it themselves. That's also not allowed. Restaurants, you can't sell let's say a spice blend or a seasoning blend to a Spanish restaurant or some type of a hamburger place. For them to use that, you can't sell directly to restaurants. That's prohibited also. Now, this gets a lot of questions all the time on my other YouTube channel about catering from home. So specifically in Minnesota, under their cottage food laws, you can't have a catering business from your home itself. You'd have to have a commercial kitchen. Also wholesale. So you can't necessarily also sell it in bulk or wholesale pricing. That's something where you would need, again, some type of commercial licensed area or a zoned business warehouse where you could warehouse your product and sell it wholesale. That's different than cottage food. Now, next up, let's get into some of the allowed foods. So if you're looking to sell certain foods, there are some you can and can't do. What are those, Damien? So you could do tortillas, you could do macarons, you could do cookies, cupcakes, cake pops. You could do brownies under baked goods, bagels, if you will, as well. Baked goods with alcohol, only if it's going to be used and baked within the product. That has to be used as an ingredient only. Has to be cooked out, okay? That would mean during the baking process, the actual alcohol content bakes out, but the flavor is still there, okay? Donuts, pizzelles, cakes, breads, sweetbreads, and wedding cakes are all allowed. Now, keep this in mind. You want to understand that if you've got a variety of cookies, you've got cupcakes, cake pops, donuts, you can do a ton of different varieties of these products, okay? Don't be limited to just thinking, well, cookies, what does that mean? I can only do a few. There are so many different types of cookies you can make and create a business from. Bagels, there's an endless type of bagels you can make. Bring them to local farmers markets and sell them as a freshly baked bagel. Also candies. You could get into nut brittles, chocolates, lollipops. You could do cotton candy as well. Cotton candy is a huge seller. Spring and summertime is gigantic. You can do that as a cottage food business. Candies, fudge, and buttercream frostings. Now, of course, make sure that it does not include any frosting that have eggs or cream cheese. Remember, there are potentially hazardous food products which are time or temperature sensitive. Those are items that you can't make under cottage food. Then there are items that are allowed, which are shelf stable, of basically the ones that I'm giving you the list of right now. But other products, if it has to be refrigerated or has meat or cheese in it, those are no-nos, okay? You can't do that. Next up, you can do vinegars, you can do sauces, oils, nut butters, honeys, ketchups, different types of mustards. You can even do pickles, which is unique because a lot of cottage food states do not allow you to do pickles. You can do salsa as well. You can do cereals, dried vegetables, pasta noodles, coffee beans, herbs, even tea leaves. Now, you cannot make or pre-make coffee as a drink or tea as a drink, so keep that in mind. You can sell the coffee beans if you're into roasting or making them or crushing them up and creating your own blends. That's fine, but you cannot make the drink itself. Okay, that would be considered food service, and that's totally different. Dried fruits and mixes as well. Pet food. This is something interesting. And fermented foods. That is also something that's very interesting as well. Many states under cottage food do not allow any form of fermented foods. Pet foods are fine. That's also something that's unique because a lot of pet treats are allowed, but pet food is really unique. Juices. That's something that's really unique as well. Wow, I didn't realize you can do that as well. Juices are allowed if they're fresh juices. Most states don't allow it because they have to be pasteurized or they have to be brought to a certain degree and bottled a certain way. All right, next up was pastries. So you do have a variety of pastries, but keep in mind, as I mentioned, these pastries, they cannot have like cheeses, meats, proteins of fish. That type of stuff is a no-no, like I said before. It has to be non-temperature or time sensitive. So like churros, other pastries that don't have any cheeses in them, danishes, pies, empanadas, tamales, acidified foods you can do as well. But there is a little bit of a restriction on that one. When it comes to that, there has a certain specific pH value that has to be met. Has to be above 4.6 from my understanding. Applesauces, jams and jellies, chutneys, marmalades, and preserves. So you can do that as well. Now keep in mind again, all of these have huge variations in different flavor profiles that would be great to literally launch a business from home. Next up, snacks. So candied apples, crackers, or pretzels. Kettle corn, which is hugely popular and a huge moneymaker. It's very profitable. Popcorn, caramel corn. Fruit leathers, which is basically like dried fruits. That are blended into a puree and fruit and then dried into an air dryer. Marshmallows, vegetable chips, granolas, nuts and seeds, and chocolate-covered items. Now, nuts and seeds are one that I love to talk about because there's a huge call for a variety of nuts. You can roast them and season them whatever way you want. That's a big, hugely profitable item. Let's dive into some of the items that are prohibited, though. Perishable baked goods. Again, back to the time and temperature sensitive. Do not make anything that has to be refrigerated or has a time sensitivity to it. Confections with alcohol, okay? Low acid canned foods, meat jerky. So if you're into making jerkies, you'd have to get into a commercial kitchen for doing something like that. Chocolate covered fruits as well. Now keep in mind, canned goods, things like drinks must be non-potentially hazardous. If you're not sure if any of those products that you have, you can definitely check out the specific website links. We'll have some down in our blog post on our website. You can take a look at that. Now, let's get into some of the limitations. Now, some of the things, while you're making the food at home, there are some things that you cannot do. Employees, you're not allowed to have any employees specifically. Nobody can help you make your product specifically in Minnesota. Other states do have actually the ability to have maybe 1 or 2 part-time people. Interstate sales, you can't ship over state lines. There's also a sales limit. So the sales limit in Minnesota is actually quite large. It's $78,000 per year, but you must pay a $50 registration fee to do that. So keep in mind that you do need to pay that $50 registration fee. That's an annual fee, and your limit is $78,000 in gross sales. All right, so let's dive into some of the potential like licensing or permitting or classes that you might have to take as well, because some states have that. So you do have food safety training. You must take a food safety training course prior to registering, but the type of training depends on which tier you fall under. So if you fall under tier 2, they have different tiers, 2 different types. If you're wanting to do $78,000 in annual sales, you must take a cottage food producers training course, which costs about $50, and that's renewed every 3 years. Okay, that's a course that you have to take. Now, also, producers registration, you need to do, once you complete the actual safety training, you must register with the Department of Agriculture before you can sell the food products. It's very, very simple to do, but you do have to follow that. All right, next up, labeling. So what goes on the label specifically if you're creating a home-based food business under cottage food law in Minnesota? They do, like every state, have specific guidelines. Number one, allergens. You need to make sure you have an allergen listing. That would be things like milk, eggs, tree nuts, peanuts, and soy. Similar to what the type of labeling required for the FDA, but the FDA, of course, does not regulate cottage food laws, but the state does. Business name. So if you have a name of your business, if it's, Sarah's Cookie Company, then that's the name of the business, not the product, but the name of the business that has to be on there. Date it's produced. So the day that you actually make the product, that needs to be on the label. So the customer knows how long ago prior to buying it that you've actually produced and made the product. Next up is ingredients. You need to make sure your ingredients are listed from most used to least. So as an example, if you're making chocolate chip cookies, normally flour would be the most used, largest quantity of ingredient. You put that first and then all the way down to the most least. Now, Minnesota has something unique about the label too. They're going to give you a permit number. Once you register, you have to have a permit number present on your label. You need to make sure that that's visible and easy to see. So you do have to actually have some type of permit number, which is unlike other states. They don't require that. Product name. So the name of the product. So if you're making sugar cookies, remember, product name and business name are two different things. Product name is sugar cookies, then you need to make sure that that's on the label as well. And lastly, on the label, a statement that says basically that it's made in a home-based kitchen that is uninspected by any state or local government agency, so people know that it's actually made at someone's house, not inside a commercial kitchen. So that pretty much wraps it up. That's a great outline of what you can expect when you launch a food business in Minnesota and how much you can make, where you can sell. So if you have questions about this, let us know down below. If you're looking to create a food business, and if you have, let us know as well down below. We have a lot of brand new subscribers here to our brand new channel, and it's going to be all about cottage food, home-based food businesses.